producer, the creative energy was coming from Kenny Ortega, the director, and Michael Jackson. And they would come up with these ideas, and it was my job to, once they figured out, it's really a process of building the tour and putting it together. And they would come up with an idea that would seem brilliant at night, and it would be shot down in the cold light of morning. But as these ideas formed, I had to take the idea and figure out, how are we going to do this, and how is it going to work, and how can we make it so it's bulletproof, and how can we, what's it going to cost to do this stuff? And that was sort of my side of it, and then I would take that information back to them, and they would incorporate that into the process and just, move the process along.
So you made their creative visions reality in terms of the project, correct?
Yes, it was like an interface between art and commerce.
And as your interfacing occurred between art and commerce, you, Mr. Jackson, and Kenny Ortega being the artistic forces, correct?
Yes.
Would you describe Mr. Jackson's involvement in this creative process as you were planning and producing the This Is It tour?
He was totally engaged. Brilliant guy.
Did he seem to be excited to you about the prospect of participating in and creating the This Is It tour?
Yes.
Were you responsible for planning the rehearsal schedule?
No.
Were you involved in the calendaring and planning of the tour dates themselves?
Yes, that's really the other side of it. That's the promoter side.
I see. Mr. Gongaware, when the initial talks began for the London tour, This Is It, how many shows were contemplated?
We contracted 31.
When you say we, who are you referring to?
AEG Live.
And who else? Mr. Jackson?
Oh yeah, Mr. Jackson, yes.
So the tour dates initially planned included 31 concert events at the O2 Arena. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why was the number set at 31? Do you know?
Yes.
Will you tell me?
Prince had done 21 shows at the O2, and Michael wanted to do 10 more.
And when you say Prince, would you describe for me specifically who you're referring to?
The artist, Prince.
So the number 31 was something that Michael was closely involved with, and in fact called that number, correct?
Yes.
Were you involved, Mr. Gongaware, in the ticketing and the pre-sale for that tour dates?
Yes.
Would you describe for me, please, how that process took place? And what I'm referring to is if you describe the process of the pre-sale and the ticketing, how that worked.
Yes, we had people register on michaeljacksonlive.com, people who wanted to buy tickets, and we took 10 shows at first and set those up and put those on sale, just to gauge how strong the show was going to be.
And what was the response when you announced or put those 10 shows on to determine how strong the response would be? What was the answer?
Blew out.
Blew out. What do you mean by that?
Sold out instantly.
And what did you do next?
Well, I think we actually added some more shows in that particular cycle.
So you knew from the time that you began the pre-sale ticketing that you were going to contract, or you had contracted for 31 shows, correct?
That's right.
Would it be accurate to characterize the 10-show announcement as a promotional tool?
Yes.
After the 10 shows sold out instantly, how rapidly Did the 31 shows sell out?
I don't remember exactly how the progression was of shows, but as we put shows out, they sold out instantly.
Did those 31 shows sell out in the pre-sale status?
I don't remember exactly.
Describe to me what it means to have people in the queue with regard to the ticket selling process.
Well, the queue is just like a line. The lineup of people waiting to get in to buy their tickets. It's just how many people are actually there waiting.
At the time that the 31 shows sold out, were there still people waiting to purchase tickets?
Yes.
How many?
At the 31, I'm not sure. I did check at the 50 shows.
And what was that number?
There were about 250,000 people still in the queue, which would have been enough to sell out another 50 shows.
Mr. Gongaware, in the planning of the concert dates, was there an intention by the parties to the contract that there would be more than 50 shows? In other words, was this going to be a multi-city tour?
Yes.
Senator, I have an 11-page document. I'd ask that it be marked People's Number 3, please.
It is.
I'm showing it to the Defense Council. It's an 11-page document that has the months May 2009 through March 2010. I'm showing it to Mr. Chernoff.
Yes, I assume council had seen it.
If I had, I don't recall.
All right, take the moment, please. Thank you.
May I approach?
You may, Ms. Brizzo.
Mr. Gongaware, please take a look at the exhibit that's been marked as People's Number 3. It consists of 11 pages. If you'll take a moment to familiarize yourself with it, I'd like to ask you some questions once you review it. Mr. Gongaware, do you recognize the exhibit that's been marked as People's Number 3?
Yes.
Describe what it is, please.
It's the schedule of the rehearsals and the shows for London.
Does it consist of a page for the month of April 2009, May 2009, etc.?
It starts in May.
Are those calendar dates accurate, in your opinion?
Yes.
Did you create those calendars and those schedules?
Yes.
Mr. Gongaware, the first page of People's Number 3, the first page of the 11-page document, that contains the month of May 2009, correct?
Yes.
And the rehearsals that were scheduled to take place and did take place in May of 2009, that document indicates the date and the location of the particular rehearsal for that date in May, correct?
Yes.
Where were the rehearsals held in the month of May 2009?
We were at Center Staging in Burbank.
And turning to the next page, does that reflect June 2009?
Yes.
Does that calendar date also reflect the dates and locations of the rehearsals in June?
Yes.
And where were the rehearsals by date located in the month of June?
The first 3 weeks were in the Forum, and then we moved into Staples Center.
So May and June in People's Number 3 contains your rehearsal schedule, correct?
Yes.
Turning now to July 2009. with the assistance of Mr. Walgren, placing the page of pupils number 3 on the overhead projector so the jurors can see it at the same time. Mr. Gongaware, are you able to see that up there?
Mm-hmm.
Say yes. So June 2009, pupils number 3 indicates the dates of the rehearsals and the location, correct?
Yes.
So on June 22nd is the first date that the rehearsal was conducted at Staples Center, is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Gongaware, I'd like to turn now to July 2009. Does July 2009 accurately reflect the scheduled rehearsals as well as show dates as well as days off?
Yes.
And that would be for the performances or rehearsals at the O2 Arena located in London, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Gongaware, in total, in July 2009, how many performance dates were to be held?
8.
And how many rehearsal days?
5 at the O2.
And the remaining days of the month of July, were those off days?
Once we got through rehearsals, yes.
Turning now to August of 2009. This calendar also reflects the division between the rehearsals or performances and days off, correct?
Yes.
In August, how many shows were scheduled to actually have performances at the O2 Arena?
10 in August.
And how many rehearsals?
No rehearsals.
So in the month of August, of which there is 31 days, only 10 of those days, a third of the month, was going to be actual performances, correct?
Yes.
And in September of 2009, how many shows or performances were scheduled for September?
9.
Were there any rehearsals scheduled for the month of September at the O2 Arena?
No.
So out of the entirety of the 30 days in September, only 9 shows were to be performed.
That's right.
How about October? Were there any performances or rehearsals scheduled at the O2 Arena in October?
No.
How about November?
No.
How about December?
No.
And why is it that there were no shows in October, November, and December at the O2 Arena?
The arena was booked.
With another performer?
Yes.
Was the schedule of This Is It and performances by Michael Jackson set to resume in January of 2010?
Yes.
And in the month of January 2010, how many performances were scheduled for that month?
10.
Were there any rehearsals in January of 2010?
Yes.
How many rehearsals?
3.
So 10 performances and 3 rehearsals, and the rest of the month would be off or dark, correct?
That's correct.
Turning to February, some questions for you, Mr. Gongaware. I'm interested in the number of performances, number of rehearsals.
No rehearsals, 10 shows.
The remaining days where there are no scheduled performances would be off days, correct?
That's right.
And finally, turning to March 2010, how many shows were scheduled in March?
3.
On the days where there are no performances scheduled, Mr. Jackson obviously had those days free from performance or rehearsal obligations, correct?
That's correct.
I'd like to turn back now to the rehearsals during May and June here in Los Angeles. Mr. Gongaware, were you present physically at the rehearsals at Center Stages in Burbank?
Yes.
Did you have opportunities during that time to interact with Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
How would you describe his demeanor during that rehearsal time at Center Stages when you had interactions with him?
He was excited. He wanted to work.
Did he seem happy?
Yes.